Hello, my name is Pong. I'm playing Hollow Knight, and this is the submission video for Green Gaming Fest. To give you a little bit of an intro, I've been playing Hollow Knight for about 2 years now. This is the any percent run, which is probably the main category that I've done over that time. There are a few other categories, but any percent is by far the most popular. It just consists of beating the game as fast as possible, and specifically this is NMG, or no major glitches, so we can't use glitches. For those who don't know Hollow Knight, where have you been? It's a pretty popular game. It's an indie game that is about 4 years old by now, but it's a Metroidvania. It's developed by Team Cherry over in Australia. It's a very cute indie game. It's very challenging, and there is a ton of content, so it is an absolutely massive game. Mostly casual plays usually take about 40 hours, and that's without getting through anywhere near all the content this game has to offer. It's not uncommon to spend like hundreds of hours to get all the achievements or more. So yeah, that's Hollow Knight. I mentioned that this is any percent. The time for any percent in game time is usually somewhere around 35 minutes for me, at least. Record is 32 minutes and 17 seconds, I believe. My personal best is 33:39, but there is a notable difference here in that game time, which is the time that you see on the timer on the screen right now, is different from real time. What game time does is it removes loads, so it makes it so that it's fair no matter what kind of PC you're playing on. Otherwise, some PC would load faster, some would load slower, and it wouldn't be fair for everyone running. So we are on patch 1221, which is not the most current patch. It's about probably 2 or 3 years old at this point. There are a couple reasons we do it. One of the reasons is what you saw right there. It's called an inventory drop. So you can open your inventory mid-air in that game, and in this game, and what that does is actually uncaps your fall speed. So normally you can only fall at a certain speed, but with your, you're supposed to hit that spike, and that kills these guys much easier, but instead we'll just pogo them. No big deal. But opening your inventory means you can fall as fast as you like until, of course, you hit the ground. So that is faster for a lot of times where we're going to be falling more than just like a second or so. Yeah, so what you'll notice with the timer, well, you might not notice it yet because this is the first split, but the way I have my timer is that the big number, the number you see on the bottom there, is actually the split time. So you'll see once I get VS, the first ability in this game, that will actually reset back to 0, and that'll happen throughout the run, and the top time is my total run time. If that's not something that you'd want for a marathon, because I could see that being slightly confusing, that's easy enough to change. This is just kind of a personal preference. What we're going to be doing right now, as is the case with a lot of Metroidvania games, is we're going to be mostly skill gathering for the beginning of this run. The very first thing we'll be doing is fighting False Knight, who is actually in this very room. But fighting False Knight is hard and it takes a lot of time. Okay, it's not that hard, admittedly, but it takes a lot of time. So we're going to be doing a dev intended skip, and we're just going to be basically one-cycling False Knight. 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. And that adds to like 13, I think. I always count it in 6, 6, 1. I'm weird. So after you get him through one cycle, he'll start smashing the floor and inadvertently break this little wall over here, which we can finish off with a couple nail slashes, and we can just leave the fight. We do miss out on City Crest, which is something that you're meant to get casually, and we also missed out on that big Geo chest that you saw me fall right past, which is about 200 Geo, which would be nice, but it's not really worth doing 2 more cycles. False Knight normally would take 3 cycles to kill, so what you just saw me do 2 more times over. So here's the Shaman. This is going to be the end of the first split of the run. We're going to get Vengeful Spirit here, also sometimes called VS, also sometimes called Fireball, also sometimes called Annoying Thing that gets stuck in the wall when you fireball from the side of a platform, because this game is jank sometimes. And as I mentioned, you'll see the split timer reset there, back down to 0, while the timer on the top remains my actual time. So this is Ancestral Mound. It's kind of the game's intro into how to use Fireball. You're meant to use it to break these planks. On the bottom there, it actually says, because I clearly can read fluent Chinese, use right bumper or right trigger, I don't even remember, to fireball. or VS, Vengeful Spat, I don't know what the game calls it. But we'll just be nail slashing because fireballing takes a little bit of time to cast, which you'll see in a second here. We're coming up to Baldur's Spit, which is a nice display of both fireball and RNG. So this guy takes 4 fireballs to kill. You'll see that 3 fireballs takes away all the soul I have in that top left meter. Luckily, he shoots a Baldur right away, which is a 1 in 2 chance. And hitting enemies will actually refill that soul. To just kind of go over how the soul meter works, I know there's a lot I'm trying to kind of rush through. There are some things to know about Hollow Knight before you can really understand and appreciate the run, so it's kind of a necessary thing to go through. But the soul meter can contain up to 9 hits of soul. I think it's technically 99 because 1 hit is 11 soul or something weird like that, but it's easier to just think of it as 9 hits of soul. You'll see every time I get a hit, it fills up a little bit. So I'm at 3 right now. This is 4, 5, and 6, which is all I'm going to need. And a fireball takes 3 hits of soul to cast. So you'll see I'm at 6 right now. Now I'm at 3. And this game is jank, so for some reason shooting a fireball from over there will make the Baldur get hit by it 4 times, which is another nice little reason we can use 1, 2, 2, 1. And I'll use 3 hits of soul or 1 fireball soul to do a fireball skip right there, which is when you jump, turn around, fireball backwards, and you'll get a little more distance than you would be able to get otherwise. So it's a nice little trick that's utilized quite a bit in Green Path. It's going to be coming up 2 more times here, and is the main reason that we're getting all this soul off enemies right now, although with pogoing or down slashing as it is probably more understandably called, it's not too hard to just get that soul anyway. So we'll finish off those 2 birds. You'll see that soul meter go completely full. That means we have 9 casts. And this fireball skip's a little tighter, so we're actually going to use 2 fireballs for it. It's possible to do in 1, but it's difficult. So generally, even the top runners will go for 2 fireballs there. So I'm not a super top runner of this game, to mention a little bit about me. I have a 33-39. I think it's like 14th or 13th place in any percent right now, which is pretty good, but it's still over a minute behind Pest, who has like a 32-17, I think I said, which is ridiculous. It's so fast. You're like, half the time you're just preying on RNG. It's nearly perfect movement the whole way. It's absolutely crazy the times that these people are getting. Up here is the Moss Knight kill. We're going to stand right next to him, get real close and cozy, and then forget what I'm doing. Forget to fireball there. We'll still get him with 2 fireballs, which is what you're intended to do. One of those double hits. So double hitting is going to be kind of an important thing in this run for some select bosses. There'll be a little bit in Hornet coming up here, but what it really means is that the enemy is in your fireball hitbox for more than 1 hit. So you see even 1 fireball hit him 2 times. Whoops. So this is a backup for BK, Vengeful King. I'm supposed to fireball more. I messed up my timing a little bit, but it's no big deal. Just gonna go and collect this Geo. We have more than enough still. We're actually really well on Geo. Geo is that number you see in the top left. It currently says 216. We only need to be at 206, so 10 over is actually pretty generous for any percent. Any percent tends to be a pretty tight category in terms of Geo. So as we get to Hornet here, I think I've kind of gone through the mental checklist of stuff that I need to mention, just to make Hollow Knight understandable. I'm going to focus a little bit on this Hornet fight. We'll get 3 hits and a fireball in here, and she'll be annoying by jumping all the way up there. So you can get doubles on Hornet, if she'll let me demonstrate. There we go. You can try it like that, and that actually did hit twice. You can tell by the audio cues, and she should die to that. That's a pretty good Hornet fight. But it's not super necessary. I usually only go for 1 double in the Hornet fight, because the soul works out pretty well to have enough soul to fireball at the end. And 750 is actually a pretty good cloak time for a no reset marathon run. I think Hollow Knight's pretty good for a marathon. It's not too long. It's like 40 minutes estimated real time, which is pretty consistent. I'd almost guarantee that the run takes somewhere between 38 and, well, maybe like 39 and 43, I guess. I don't know. I'll give myself a bit of a window there, but very, very rarely will it fall outside that window. I'd love for it to fall outside that window on the lower end and just get a massive PB, but realistically, that's probably not happening. So that's Dash. You can see me using it now, or Mothwing Cloak as the game calls it. It makes the game much faster, which is why we get it so quickly. And right now we're going to Claw. So Claw is going to be our form of vertical. It will allow us to scale walls, and I'll talk about it a little bit more once we actually have the ability, but just know it is a very necessary skill to get in this game. Without Claw, we can't actually get to pretty much any form of Dreamers. Without the Dreamers, we can't beat the Hollow Knight, so we can't beat the game. So, you know, beating the game's kind of necessary, considering that's the entire point of the speedrun. There's a couple tricks coming up here. Like I said, the beginning of the game, I did write like this little checklist, although I'm not following it too well. There is a lot of explaining to do. Once we get past this, there's a lot more time for donations and the like. There's a lot more spots where I'll have to focus a little more, because the fights will get harder. We won't really be getting much better equipment to handle the fights either. But this is E-Pogo. This is a form known as Wii Pogo, O-U-I, because it's French. Where you dash, hit that Spork, pogo off of it, and get out here, which is the first real sequence, well, maybe the second real sequence break of the game after some of the fireball skips in Green Path. And then we can pogo off these guys to get some height and get up here, which we're not meant to do. We're meant to go all the way back around. And then we're going to grab Claw. So upcoming is the Gruzmother split. All we're going to be really doing is killing Gruzmother and getting Shaman, so this would be a first pretty decent time for donations. Up until Water Knights, really, so it's going to be, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes, which I can talk through. I've done a lot of commentary for Any% and for a lot of rando races, and I know far too much about this game, to be honest. So I can talk through stuff, and that's obviously what I'll be doing in the submission video, but there is also a lot of downtime like this, where I'm really just dashing through rooms and no one really cares what's going on. But in the interest of keeping people entertained, what we're doing here is collecting 6 hits of soul. So I mentioned soul a little bit earlier. We need that for 2 fireballs for the Gruzmother fight. When I say need, it's not super necessary. You could just you could just not use spells. There is a spell-less category, which is abysmally hard, but you could just use nail the whole time to kill bosses. But 6 hits of soul tends to be the most efficient for Gruzmother. We're going to go up here and get this stag station for later. So something that I did earlier that I kind of forgot to mention is what's called bench warping. So you saw... That's fine. I didn't mean to sit at that bench. I accidentally hit up on the controller, but that's not an issue. It made me a little worried, I won't lie. But anyway, what bench warping is when you sit on a bench in this game, the game saves, as you saw there with me accidentally sitting on that bench. And hold on a sec while I try to kill Gruzmother. She's really high. That's annoying. So when you save in this game, it saves your location, so it saves that you're at the bench. But what you can do is go and get something like Claw or Dash, like I did, and then what's called save quitting, so just quit out of the game. And the game will remember that you have Claw and Dash. It'll remember that you have those skills. But when you load back into the game, it'll still put you at the last bench you saved on. So we abuse that in this run for specifically Claw and Dash. Hello, please talk to the Saluber. And it's what makes the route possible. Otherwise, this would be like a couple minutes longer for the speedrun, because we'd have to get Claw and come all the way back, get Dash, come all the way back. And the other form of travel that you saw me open just now is a stag station. Oh, I did get boosted right. You love to see it. The stag stations we can use to run around Hallownest, basically. Hold on, I'm gonna try to die. And it's basically saving where we are for later. So I want to come back to Crossroads later, so I open the Crossroads stag station. This death is intentional. We're going to be doing what's called a shade skip. We're going to be equipping Shaman because Shaman gives us damage and we need damage. Damage is important to killing things. And we unfortunately got a fireball. That's a 1 in 4 chance. You hate to see it. Doesn't really matter too much. We'll lure our shade up a bit, pogo off of him, which gives us a little bit more height. Dash back right to the wall. And this is some jank trick that was recently found called wall cling storage, which is weird. I don't have a much better way to explain it, if I'm being honest with you. But you get really close to the wall, the game thinks that you're still touching the wall until I actually touch real ground, and you can kind of just dash like that across the entirety of Blue Lake, which saves about a second, including the whole setup that you have to do. So to kind of end our quest of gathering things that we'll need for later in the run, we are going toward Dreamnail right now. One of the reasons we do the Shade Skip is so we can get Dream Nail and consequentially Right Side City early in the run. But what Dream Nail does is it allows us to actually pick up the Dreamers, which you are learning about right now if you can read Chinese. When we pick up the Dreamers, you need all 3 of them, and once you get all 3 Dreamers, you can go and fight the Hollow Knight, or the final boss of the game. So after getting this Dream Nail, pretty much our entire purpose in life is going to be collecting those 3 Dreamers and doing other things that we need to do to collect those 3. It's a Metroidvania. You get the idea. I have mentioned a couple times something that I'm... Oh yeah, Chinese. The game is in Chinese, that is so text scrolls faster. It is the only reason. I do not speak Chinese. I guess I was going to say that I'd prefer it be in English, but I really don't read the text anyway, so I don't really care. But yeah, for stuff like selling to Lem, for stuff like what you just saw, the dream sequence is what we're currently in. Talking to Salubra, the whole 9 yards, it is a little bit faster to scroll that text in Chinese, and you can probably hear me mashing to scroll it. So we're plus 9.6 now, as you can see in the splits, which is actually, again, for no reset, pretty good. Gruzmother looks very bad. Part of Gruzmother was bad. Part of that was something in the claw split that I won't really get into. It's not something that I super want to do for a marathon. But it's claw early control for those that actually know what that is. So we're going to be doing Seer Skip there, where we dash out of the room before the Seer tells us all this crap about the Dream Nail that we already know because we're a speedrunner. And we can just leave early and not waste our time. So I'll be trying a frame perfect trick here. I'll be quiet for just a sec. And I got it, nice. So this is also wall cling storage. It is much harder to get and saves a lot of time. But you do have to do a frame perfect jump at the beginning of that room, and then the game will think that you're clinging to the same wall that you clung on when you entered the room. So it's room transition wall cling storage. And potentially I can get another wall cling storage there. Yep. There's a lot of wall cling storage in this game. As you may have seen. If you watch the task, there's recently, very, very recently, a task that came out for this game, which does wall cling storage pretty much everywhere, because it is very, very powerful, except you get into a lot of frame perfect and, like, every other frame mashing. Okay, you did not need to jump back like that, buddy. Stuff that I'm never going to do for a marathon, and never going to do anyway, and no one's ever going to do anyway. Hopefully, fingers crossed, please don't make this game constant mashing. You saw me take some damage there. That is not intentional. That is because I am not that good at the game. You hate to see it. So I will bench here. I'd bench here anyway. Like I mentioned, when you either save quit or when you die, you'll quit out to the most recent bench you sat in. Normally in a run, it doesn't matter, but if I do end up dying to Watcher Knights just to make this marathon safe, I would like to save quit back to that bench. Otherwise, it would be a long, long, tedious process to get back to here. With that bench, it's only about a minute loss or so. Can I please dash? There we go. This is Gorgeous Husk. We kill him because he's rich. To be honest, there's not much more than that. Take from the rich. Our Geo's pretty good here. I don't think I got all of Gorgeous Husk's Geo. It normally gives 420. So yeah, we're just going to be doing a little bit of Geo collection, mostly just getting to Watcher Knights in City. Another time for donations, definitely. I guess I'll mention now, if the run would, I mean not require, but if you'd want someone to commentate other than myself, because playing and commentating is a lot for my brain, that's very possible. I mean, a lot of people know me, I know a lot of people. The Hollow Knight community is a huge community. I'm sure a lot of people would be very willing to do it. So yeah, I guess that's mostly marathon preference. What you're seeing here is a botched attempt at a lever skip, where I hit that lever in the darkness from under the platform. Unfortunately, I missed it the first time and I took some damage, but that's okay. We can just heal that off while we're waiting for this elevator. So this is about the halfway point through the run, Watcher Knights, estimated, more or less. Just to give you an idea of how close we are in the run. We are past the collection phase and we are very much on to, well, collecting Dreamers, I suppose. Dream Nail there to get a bit of soul, and I'm going to focus up a bit for this Watcher Knights fight, so I might not talk too much here. Annoying. Wow, very annoying. Okay, we killed him. Not the nicest patterns, but we got through it. Don't roll. That's better than a roll. Eh. Ah. Gonna play a little safe here. I am at 2 HP, and I'm gonna get hit here. Yeah. Okay, this is scary. Ah. Please die. Okay. Well, not the best Watcher Knights fight. Some pretty ugly patterns, but we did make it at 1 HP. Again, if I did die in that fight, which does happen occasionally, unfortunately, I would go back to that bench that you saw me bench in at King Station. Not the end of the run, not the end of the world, just a little bit of a snooze fest going back to there. Probably takes about a minute or so. I haven't really timed it. As you might expect, it's not really worth timing. It's not too optimal to die in a run and have to run back anyway, so not the most pressing thing to time. Here you'll see me dream nail the first dreamer, Lurien, and this is Lurien in the dream. Takes 10 hits, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we absorb his something, and something happens, and there's a cutscene, and something gets him. I don't know. It's lore. Ask probably anybody else but me. But we do need all 3 dreamers to beat the game. And here is a good example of why real time is different than load time, because this cutscene is considered a load. So the timer is paused, which I don't understand, but, you know, works for me. Also, I could time this in real time if that's better for the marathon. Like I said, it's about 40 minutes. My computer is fairly consistent. There's not going to be too much of a difference in my real times, so it doesn't matter too much. I just keep the load time up. I guess because it's standard, it's what I'm used to. Again, it's like a preference type thing. But either way works. So here I'm going to be collecting a relic. This is not the first relic. This is like the 3rd relic of the run. We need these relics because we need to sell them to Lem, and in fact there's quite a chain of things, so let's go through that. To kill THK, we need Dreamers, THK being the Hollow Knight. One of the Dreamers is Monomon. To kill Monomon, we need to fight Umu. To fight Umu, we need Crystal Heart. To get Crystal Heart, we need access into Crystal Peaks. To get access into Crystal Peaks, we need Lantern. To get Lantern, we need money, and to get our money, we decide to gather these relics and sell to Lem. So that is the very long, very annoying reason that we do have to come all the way over here to left side of city and sell to Lem. In fact, let me hit him, just because, you know, bullying. In fact, even after selling to Lem, I probably won't have enough money. So I'll need to collect a little more in city. I messed up that trick, but that's okay. We'll just call it intentional. So Lem's over here vibing at the fountain because it would be all too convenient for him to be at his shop. It is consistent. He'll always be at that fountain instead of back in his shop after you've killed a dreamer. It's just, unfortunately, the fastest way we can do things. Have to backtrack a little bit here, not too bad. And then we have mashing.
Oh, velmi Artrit. Cacheo, velmi Artrit.
Perfect. It was not perfect, it was fairly slow. The number to beat here, this is something if you do plan on speedrunning Hollow Knight, which I do highly recommend, it's a really fun game to speedrun, is 2322. So if you look at that geo counter, I'm at 2289. If you can do very basic math, that means that I am lower than what I need. I could tell you the exact difference, but I am not capable of any more than very basic math, and would probably require a calculator. So we're just going to kill things, because things drop money and money is good. And that should be enough. Yep. So we're well over, which is pretty healthy for the marathon. The nice thing about Geo is even if I'm at exactly 23-22, it may be like the very lowest of what you need, but it's also kind of the highest of what you need. It's pretty consistent, the Geo gathering from here on out. And I missed that trick, unfortunately. You saw me cling to the wall, and then I didn't jump in time. So we fall. 305 King Station. It's not that good, but okay. This is a look down, where we look down and then the toll bench responds in kind by having jank code and instantly showing us that bell. If we didn't do that, the bell would take a little longer to spawn and we'd have to wait for a couple seconds. And hopefully you'll never get to see that, because hopefully I'll not mess up any look downs, but who knows. There's, I think, exactly one more chance in Distant Village Stag. So here we'll buy Lantern. This is why we freed Sly all those minutes ago while we were doing Shade Skip. And Lantern will allow us to go into Crystal Peaks to get Crystal Heart, so we will do that right now. This is not intentional. A lot of people meme about talking to Elderbug. I accidentally tapped up and ended up talking to him, which, okay, I guess. Satisfy the people. Crystal Peaks is kind of cool. It's very often IL'd, or restarting this room, or individual leveled, because it is so consistent. There are quite a few tricks, but there's very little RNG in the split compared to most things. Oh my god, I'm bad at the game. Great. So I lost about 7 seconds there. From whatever that was. This is another look down. It makes this gate drop earlier into an inventory, wall cling storage, so I guess a little test on if you're paying attention to your Hollow Knight tech. Yeah, so this part of the run there is going to be a bit of talking. Crystal Peaks has a lot of pretty precise movement and some tricks, and Umu has a lot to talk about. So this first trick is going to be Pogax. This is a really bad setup, but we're going to end up getting it. Him walking forward is a little scary, but we can pogo off that axe and save a couple seconds from going around the right, as opposed to the intended method of going around to the left of that room. Here we're going to go for a trick called God Pixel, which is, this movement may look a little jank. It's kind of to set up this trick. We'll try to get it. No, so you can actually be at the right pixel to not get hit by that guy if you go right in between his laser and his bod, but fortunately we didn't get it. Pretty low on health here, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem as we go for that little lantern pogo there, as you saw. And the rest of Peaks is fairly straightforward. But yeah, I highly recommend Hollow Knight as a speed game. It is my first and easily most beloved speed game. I also do a bit of Ori. I'm not nearly as good at it or practiced at it, but it's also fun. But Hollow Knight's very beginner friendly. You'll see me doing exactly one thing that actually saves more than like a couple seconds. Everything else that I do is fairly straightforward. The Watcher Knights fights, as you saw, is a little tough. You can always get a Shade Soul upgrade or a Nail upgrade to deal with those guys. Or just reset them. They are probably the biggest thing that you need to practice, but you can play them safe as well. You don't have to go too fast and just kind of learn the fight. But QGA is the big one. Stands for Queen's Gardens Acid Skip. I'll talk about it a little more when I actually get there, but there is an alternate route that does not do QGA that is a little bit more beginner friendly, a little bit easier. And this is another example of the save quit back to the most recent bench that I was talking about. This time we are going to go to the Dartmouth bench. So coming up, as every seasoned and unseasoned and pretty much any Hollow Knight runner knows, is Umu. Hated by all, loved by none. Very RNG heavy, very difficult. In any percent, it's especially unfun. I shouldn't have walked left there, I might get hit here. I got lucky. It's especially unfun because you can beat Umu in 2 cycles. It's very precise and difficult to do. For a marathon, I'd say I probably get 2-cycle about 60% of the time, so I guess slightly better than average odds that I 2-cycle. But if I 3-cycle, it's 20 seconds lost about, maybe even a little less. Again, not the end of the world. Hollow Knight's a pretty safe marathon run. At least any percent in MG is a pretty safe marathon run. There's not really anything that can completely ruin you, that I can think of at least. The biggest thing would be not benching in King Station, as I've talked about a couple times now. And then dying to Watcher Knights. If those 2 things happen, you're kind of ruined, but that's why we bench in King Station. So pretty good movement to Umu so far. This is not the crux of the split. The difficult part of the split is only just coming up here. Nice little dash there. And my inventory didn't close, so we're just going to go for a little C-dash there instead of dashes. And this is all fine. Alright, so here's Umu. I'm going to really not talk during this. If I have a co-commentator, or I guess a commentator, they can explain the fight, but I'm going to be fairly quiet for this part as I focus. Get Umu in position here. Good, so that's the first cycle. extra attack there is a bit annoying, but it's pretty manageable. Nice, and that is a 2-cycle. Little jank at the end with that damage tank, but not too unintended. It's mostly what I wanted to do. We'll try a wall cling storage here. Barely got it. You saw me clip that floor a little bit, but not enough for the game to care. And we'll get Monomon up here. So pretty clean run, all things considered. We'll just, you know, clip that bit out. I'm sure we can live splice, right? That's a thing we can do. I don't know. I don't know why I dashed there. That was questionable. We're gonna get Monomon here. It's our second Dreamer, and yeah, a little more time for donations, I suppose. There are times throughout, again, at the beginning, even, we can do donations too if they're coming in fast and furious. There's just kind of a lot of stuff to get through talking about Hollow Knight that I tend to do during VS and Dash. When I'm commentating, because I've done a lot of just commentating, not running, it's a lot easier for me to just get through it in VS, but playing and thinking about explaining is much brain power, as I've mentioned. Coming up here is going to be the Hera split. I'll have to get through QG and then to Hera. Some people love this split, some people hate this split. The scary part of this split is that you have 5 health, as you can see in the top left there, which I don't think I've ever explicitly said, but hopefully you've caught on by now. And you take 3 intentional damage tanks in this split. The split goes on for about 5 minutes, which means if you do the math, you can only take 1 damage outside of those intentional damage tanks. Otherwise, you're going to have to start wasting time and wasting soul by healing, which you can heal for 1 damage by using 3 soul, which I think I've done a few times in this run. Probably. Maybe not? I don't know. It's a thing you can do. If you play Hollow Knight, you're well aware. This is QGA. There is a frame-perfect portion of this. Not the whole thing is frame-perfect, and I was about to say that I got it, and I was too soon. You hate to see it. But second try is pretty good. I will waste a little bit of time healing here. In a live run, I probably wouldn't heal there. I'd probably try to do the rest with 4 HP. As I said, I can get hit exactly once during this section. I would have let that be my one time I get hit and try to do the rest damageless. For a marathon, no. I do not trust myself that much. Coming up is Petrarina. This can go very badly. I'm also pretty low on soul. I need to pogo and then left slash here if I can get it. Nice. Nice. So that's very good. This is a damage warp, so I hit the spikes there, and the game, for whatever reason, has the respawn hitbox too low, and we take advantage of that and go right down there to that lever that we were supposed to have to go around the spikes for, and then we're going to fall off here because I can't jump. Pretty good so far. Second try QGA is not the end of the world by any means. Get a little bit of soul here. This is pretty good soul collection, actually. These guys are in very nice spots for me. Hopefully this last guy's nice. Very good. And barely see dash out of that. That's good soul. We need one more hit somewhere. We will get it. Almost certainly. In this next room. But you do want full soul going into Beasta, and you'll see why there is a damage tank strat we do for the Devouts there. Which I'll explain again when we get there. But there's a little last hit of soul I needed off that guy. Please close my inventory. Okay, I got lucky. Sometimes, this happens to me specifically, sometimes when I hit my inventory button, it always works to open an inventory drop, but sometimes it doesn't close when I want it to. So stuff like that can happen where I accidentally fall down further than I wanted to. Luckily, the spider was not in my way, so I probably actually saved time doing that, but you can be assured it was not intentional. So pretty decent QG split. We're going to be going into Beastin here. We're going to be doing what's called a music glitch, so I'll shut up a little bit just to let people hear. But there is this like spooky little, maybe not spooky, bouncy little music that you hear sitting on this bench. And if we hold left the entire time that these guys trap, just cut, dissect, cocoon us, I don't know what they're doing, the screen's dark. That music will actually persist into the into Beastin itself, so into this much more spooky area, where we can use the bouncy music to light up. This is not the intended music for this area. It's meant to be creepy, but we don't care. Good. So that is the damage tank strat. That way you can kind of one-cycle that Devout. You don't have to wait and then get more soul and then walk back and fireball and all that crap. It is scary because, again, it's damage. I can only take... There is a Devout at the end that'll also have to damage tank, so I can only take 1 extraneous damage in here. Play that a little bit safe. Probably don't want to go that safe in a run. This guy is very annoying. Yeah. Rough. So hopefully I don't get hit here. We'll see. Ugh. Okay, I got hit here. I'm scared. So we don't have the health to damage tank. 1 HP is not recommended to damage tank. So we're gonna just do this the slow way, and it'll actually show off how this would happen if we didn't have damage tanks anyway. That was scary because I, like, I panicked and hit my my left stick on my controller, and then I like looked up for a second or something weird, but all is well. And if you have been counting, this is our 3rd and last streamer. Her name is Hera. She has lore behind her, I'm sure. And this is on pace for a pretty low 34, so that's nice. I don't think... It's probably... If I played the best anyone's ever played for these next couple of splits, I could probably 33 this, but realistically speaking, it's a 34, which I'm happy with. For a marathon run, I kind of expect a 34. 33 would be quite good. Oh, excuse me. And anything higher than a 34 probably means I died somewhere or really messed up a split somewhere. Couple hits off that guy, so we only have really 2 things left to do, and they're fairly related. One is getting to THK, aka the Hollow Knight, aka the final boss, and the other is beating THK, aka the Hollow Knight, aka the final boss. You'll see how tight Geo is here, you know, English. As I turn in that toll for 250, I'm only going to have 13 left over. That is why we need that 23-22 I was talking earlier about in City. And this will let us go back to Dirtmutstag for the last time. Which is where, spoilers, I guess, probably should have said spoilers earlier. If you're watching a speedrun, like, I mean, you, come on. There's going to be spoilers, I'm sorry. What were the spoilers? Wait, now I forget. Oh yeah, spoilers! THK is actually just to the right of the very beginning of the game. So this is Black Egg Temple, and THK resides right in here. So it was right next to you all along. We don't see it in the speedrun because in speedruns we do this thing where we don't go out of our way to view extraneous things, but oftentimes, almost always I would say, in a casual playthrough, you will see this temple well before you actually go and fight THK. So there is a bench here. I could take it if I wanted to be safe fighting THK. I won't for a couple of reasons. For one, THK is not as scary of a boss. I'm not too worried about dying to him. And for another, it actually saves there anyway. So even if I do die to THK, I will go back to that bench. It's what's known as a hard save. It's where the game saves regardless of your consent. It's very annoying in categories like 1-2-2-1, where you hard save at dive and you don't want to. There's other examples as well. That's the main one I can think of. And that's a parry. So you can tell how good THK's RNG is by how many dashes he does and how many parries he does. What is a dash? That is a dash. Thank you, THK. Very kind. So we're at 1-1. More dashes than parries tends to mean you got a good fight. Vice versa. 2-1. You hate to see it. I'm not counting that because he didn't dash. That was the start of a dash, but he didn't commit. 3-2. This is a pretty good attack, too. But the more you play, the more you'll kind of understand what good and bad attacks are. It's not the end of the world, either. I tend to think, personally, there's a lot more... People say there's a lot more RNG in THK than there is. I think you can always get a pretty decent fight, but you saw, like, right there, I missed a fireball. Avoiding stuff like that and making sure you hit all your doubles is the key to getting a good fight in THK. We might get Scream Skip here. Okay, we might get Scream Skip here. Okay, no, we might get Scream Skip here. We're gonna dash over his head. He screams. We're supposed to be stunned during this part, but because we got damaged, we actually got damaged outside of that stun lock. So this is quite a good fight. It did get Scream Skip. It got pretty good. Oh, I thought he'd die there. He was 1-0 hit away. Still a pretty good fight. It's not a gold, unfortunately, but that's okay. And yeah, that's the game. We're gonna absorb THK's infection, and we'll take on the infection because we are truly hollow. Spoilers, lore. And yeah, that's about it. The timer ends in just a couple seconds here. And 34:09, so pretty nice time for a marathon run. So this is the ending cutscene. I'm not going to go through it too much. This is the end of the game. Thank you for watching. I've been Palm, and I hope you'll consider myself and Hollow Knight 80% and potentially another commentator, which I would be very happy to have for Green Gaming Fest. Adios.